Good morning. Good morning. I believe we are live. All right. How are you guys doing? This morning is a good morning. I am actually very excited to be here. Yesterday, so last night, I had so many things that I had to handle. But just glad that the Lord gave me the strength to be able to handle it yesterday. When I laid on my bed last night, I was so exhausted. I was exhausted. Um, but what's important had to be done and it was done. So I'm super grateful for that. Please let somebody know that we're here. Let's take a moment and just share the broadcast, share it with someone um, who doesn't know that we have started. Today I'm on time, right? Today I'm on time because I got the much needed sleep that I needed. So, all right. Okay. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Share the broadcast with someone. Let's begin. Make sure that even after the broadcast, right, you come back in, you give me some thumbs up, you put a comment, you subscribe. Watching is great, but watching without subscribing is not very helpful to the channel. All right. I'm glad nonetheless that you're getting the information, you're learning, we're all growing. And so, hello, Debbie, how are you? It's always a pleasure to see you. So we're going to just jump right in. I'm going to jump right in and just talk about parenting. Today, my goal is to do half hour. Okay. Can I limit myself to half hour to make these things easier? All right. So the thing about parenting is that nobody tells you how to be a parent. We have something we call parenting skills training in social work, right? And what that is obviously, it's a class that we usually recommend to, let's say, there's someone whose children have been removed from care, for example. We tend to recommend that class for those people because parenting skills training will show them what it means to be a parent. How do you parent appropriately? Because a lot of parents behave like their children is their friend. So the parenting skills training teaches you boundaries, communication, the appropriate ways to communicate, the types of parenting that there is. All of us as children and now parents, some of us, the way we parent is really based on how we were parented. So, for example, if you grew up in a household where they were very controlling, very demanding, critical, and stuff like that, you may not have liked that growing up. So you end up growing up saying, you know what, I'm not going to be critical to my children. I'm going to be like my children are going to be like my friends. I'm going to be open with them. I'm going to allow them to be free because maybe you were controlled as a child. You were not allowed to go places. You were not allowed to really be a child and really enjoy your youth. All right. So the way you parent is based on how you were parented because you're thinking, I was controlled. I don't want to be controlled. So now as a parent, you become, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a laissez-faire. You're like a loose parent. You don't really necessarily, parent your children the way they're supposed to be parented. So I want us to kind of go over what the parenting styles are, okay? And after we go over the parenting styles, you can kind of see where you are, and then we'll talk about how parenting impacts your marriage, all right? Because parenting has a huge impact on your marriage. So if you don't know what those parenting styles are, you can begin to figure out where you need to go. Maybe there's a place you are that's not really helpful to your children. Then you need to kind of go back. So I'll talk to you about sometimes it's 3 parenting styles, but we'll do 4 parenting styles. Okay. There's an authoritarian parent. There is an authoritative parent. There are parents that are neglectful. And then there are parents that are permissive. Okay. So let's start from the permissive parenting. So permissive parenting styles is when it's child driven. Basically, it's like focused on your child. So your child is kind of the one that determines which way the parenting is going. All right. Permissive parenting, they don't know how to enforce rules. They don't have any, there's no boundaries. You indulge your child. Here's an iPad, here's a this, here's a that. Oh, I'm going to take away your phone when you do something. And then they do it and they come back and say, Mommy, I need my phone. Daddy, why did you take that? And then you give them their phone back. That's permissive parenting. Whatever goes. Because you might think, okay, I'm a marriage coach. Why am I teaching about parenting? Because parenting can create such a huge divide and disconnect in your home. So as a marriage coach, I teach everything that influences your marriage. Anything that impacts your marriage is what I teach over here. All right. So a permissive parent is a parent who maybe went through so much in their childhood. They let their child be free. So that one is child driven. No rules, no regulations. You do everything to avoid conflict. You don't want to see your child cry. When your child is crying, you're like, even if they're throwing a tantrum, they're 3 years old. You're afraid of the 3-year-old. The 3-year-old is controlling you. That's not helpful. A neglectful parent is a parent that is like, you're not involved in a child's life. You're like an absent father. Remember we did absent father? That's a neglectful parent. So you can maybe link the absent father video under this, okay? I would like for you to link it under this so that they can connect it. That's an absent father. That's someone who is in the home but not really present. You don't have any nurturing skills, no emotional connection, no social connection, no activities with the children. Like you're in the home, all right, but you're over here and the child is over here. A huge disconnect, all right? And then authoritarian parenting is focused on the parent, okay? You're like, when I think of authoritarian parenting, I think of Fidel Castro. I don't know why. Anytime I say that word, I think of Fidel Castro. So, an authoritarian parent is very strict. Your children are afraid of you. They don't really want you in the house because when you're home, all hell breaks loose. It's like one-way communication, because I told you so. Don't do this. Don't go here. Don't talk back. Don't da-da-da. You don't care what your child thinks at all. You are a controlling parent, and you're the parent that your children can't wait to go to college. They can't wait to turn 18. They can't wait to get out the house. Because of you, your daughters want to hurry up and go get married. And then they go marry a controlling man that abuses them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So as an authoritarian parent, you're not necessarily abusive. You could be, but you're not necessarily abusive. You're very controlling. You don't care about their emotional and behavioral needs. You're just kind of like, I'm going to tell you what to do and you follow what I do. And that's it. After you talk, you don't want them to ask questions. You don't want them to talk back. You just tell them what to do and that's it. And such parents, all they focus on is, I'm providing. That's all they care about. I give you food. I give you a shelter. They don't care about nothing else. They don't care that you have a school program and you want them to come. They don't care about that. Just very strict. They may be loving, but it's hard to see. Your child will grow up very disconnected, emotionally just unavailable. Because you as a parent, you are unavailable emotionally. Sorry, this is morning for me. Everything itches my eye, Okay, you're emotionally unavailable as a parent. All right. Neglectful parents are also emotionally unavailable. They're not there. They're too busy with whatever they're doing. They're not really concerned about the child. Then you have an authoritative parenting. What you do is you solve problems, you discipline your child. See, discipline is showing your child why they shouldn't do something. Okay, so it's not about punishing them. It's not about controlling them. It's about showing them that, hey, I need to teach you how to behave yourself. And when I'm not there, I want you to be able to do. So there are clear boundaries that is set, but there's also open communication. Like if I tell you, if you do this, I'm going to take away your phone. When you do it, you know the consequence, but we're going to have a conversation about it. And everything you do, you know why there's a consequence. You know why you're on timeout. You know why, you are sent to your room. Like there is a clear boundary, clear expectations are set. Because, the thing with children is if there are no clear expectations, they kind of do whatever. And a lot of parents don't have any clear expectation of their children. Let me tell you something. If you don't expect anything of your children, they're going to do what you expect, nothing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So have you shared the broadcast? Please share it with someone. Let people know we're on. Let someone be blessed this morning, okay? So authoritative, you are clear on what you expect in your home. There's no confusion with the children. They know my mom doesn't want this, my father doesn't want this. It's very clear. And then because it's clear, they know that there are consequences when they don't follow suit, right? There are consequences to their actions. And you know what? That may be the best way to parent, all right? So I bring all 4 types of parenting because we need to see where we are so that we can choose to be more authoritative. Authoritative, it shows your authority as a parent, but it also bears in mind the child needs, because it's important to know developmentally where is your child supposed to be. So you can't expect a 3-year-old to clean up after themselves, to do this, because they're too young. So authoritative parenting bears in mind the developmental stages of a child, what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, and has clear and expectations, age appropriate expectations. Like you can expect a 1-year-old not to poop on themselves, and then you want to beat them and punish them. Like that's a little too much. So you have to be able to know as a parent, what are the developmental stages? Okay. If you Google ages and stages, it will come up. Every child has a developmental stage, what is appropriate, what is not. Okay. And then as they go on in life, you will know how mature they are. Like I usually, people ask me about, potty training children. So I potty trained my daughters very early. Okay. I potty train my children very early. And I do that, one, because what I quickly realized is that when you have to change children's diapers, babysitters and caretakers and people like that, they easily get annoyed when a child's diaper has to be changed. So if you've never heard me say this, I'm saying this to you. My intent in parenting my children is I don't want my children to be burdens to anybody. I don't want my children to be burdens to society, not to family, not to friends, not to anybody. So the way the Lord has helped me raise my children is to raise them in a way that they're not burdens. Does that make sense? So if you're going to babysit my kids, I don't want you to be calling me every second, because they're not going to burden you. It's clear what they're going to be doing when they're with you. Sometimes when kids are like home and they're comfortable, they misbehave, they fight, they bicker. Those things I can't control. Sometimes you tell them they listen, other times they don't. So if they're not going to listen, all right, we're going to give you a tablet. We're going to give you something for you to, while you're with auntie, while you're with uncle, you're going to behave yourself. I find ways to make it easier, because I know that parenting is difficult. It really is hard. So when somebody volunteers to take care of your kids or to help you out, you don't want them kids to go and just, put their house upside down, throw things away and mess things up and, make a mess. Like, no. So for me, that's how I approach parenting. So for them not to be a burden when it comes to changing Pampers, because I'm going to be honest with you, after a year, I don't change diapers. Like, I mean, I may do it. Like if I'm taking care of somebody's kid and they're like 2, 3 years old, I don't have a problem. I'm not saying, I prefer not to. I'm going to be honest with you. All right. So you're free to send the kid to me. That's fine. But they'll probably go back potty trained. They'll go back potty trained because, I'm not a fan of changing Pampers. All right. Again, doesn't mean I won't do it. It just means that I have my preference. So I force myself to potty train the kids. Potty training is messy. Do you understand? It's very messy. So the method I use is going to be messy. So that means you're cleaning up after them for 3 days straight. But after 3 days, we're good. All right. So for me, it's boot camp because I need this to be done and done quickly. So I do it as a boot camp. All right. And I'm the type, you can call me. I'll talk to you about potty training. I'll talk to you about sleep habits. Okay. I am very strict when it comes to bedtime for children. I am extremely strict. I was always busy. Like I'm right now, I'm living 10 lives. Okay. What I do, my 9 to 5 is like 5 different people doing 9 to 5. Let me just say that. So I have a lot of things I do during the day. So by the time it hits 6, 7 o'clock, I'm winding down. I'm not going to sleep, but by 6, 7, my mind is gone. So the kids get home 3:30. I got like 3 hours with them. That's it. Like I can't do more than that. So initially, the kids' bedtime was 7 o'clock because I don't have the energy. Like I'm going to be honest. So I don't wait till once a month to go have me time. No, I need me time every day. So for me, the reason I started putting the kids to bed early is because I just don't have the capacity. Now, you may think, oh, I'm okay. I'm going to stay up till 10 and they can stay up with me. That's up to you. 10. From 7 to 10, I got things to do. Maybe I'm writing. Maybe I'm creating content. Maybe I'm working on schedules to come on YouTube. I don't have the energy to be yelling and say, go sit down, go do this, go. No. There's no time for that. Parenting. You parent the way that will suit you, your family, and society. Do you understand what I'm saying? You parent the way to create ease for yourself. I'm not about to parent and have issues later. Like that's not, do you understand what I'm saying? So you do the work forward. Like you do the work in the beginning. It's harder in the beginning, but if you do the work, you pay the price forward, you don't have to deal with certain things with your kids. So there are things that 2-year-olds do, like they put their hands on the wall, they write on the wall. That's normal for 2-year-olds. But you see, I'm not about to come clean the wall. So we're going to make sure that by the time you're 2, you understand that we don't write on the wall. Do you get what I'm saying? Like we don't write on the wall. Now, every child has their own needs. There are children that have special needs and may not necessarily understand what I'm telling you. That's also okay. That is why I said you have to be mindful of the developmental stages and level of that child. So we don't expect something of a child who doesn't understand. So not every child will be 2 and mature. I understand that. So you got to look at what kind of child do I have? Did I raise the child to be babies? Because that's another thing too. Especially first-time mothers. And that's kind of my focus today. Especially first-time mothers. We don't know It's like you have no idea what to do with the child. So anything goes. And you create habits that you're going to regret 6 months down the line. I guarantee you. I talk to a lot of first-time mothers and they end up regretting. And some of them, I tell them, hey, this is hard, but do this now. They don't want to do it. And later on, they call me and say, Ruth, you said it though. That child won't sleep. I said, yes. So I will talk about bedtime and all those things in a little bit. But these are overall, I'm generalizing and talking generally about parenting, and then I'm gonna break down a few things about parenting, a few aspects of parenting that if you miss it, you're gonna regret it. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I should have really paid attention. I should have. So everything starts from the very beginning. You're 1 month old, you're 2 month old. All the habits they're learning for the future. They're learning for when they are 1. They're learning for when they're 2. And well into school age. So if you missed it, you're going to do yourself a disservice. Do you understand? You're going to do yourself a disservice. And many mothers can attest to this. And I keep saying mothers because a lot of kids spend more time with their mothers, because the mothers may be best breastfeeding. Maybe she's giving him a bottle, maybe whatever method of feeding, the child is usually with you. And then there's also the father who may also be very much present. But whichever way, and whoever has the child the most, make sure some of these things you're implementing. All right. So we talked about potty training. For me, I potty train early because, and let's be honest, diapers are very expensive. So we're not going to do diapers till you're 5 years old, unless there's a special need and that child needs diaper until that age. Do you understand? I'm talking about children who don't necessarily have any particular needs that you groom. Okay. So if you groom the child, then those needs must be addressed easily. Okay. So maybe the normal potty training age is like 2-3 years old. Yeah, that's a long time for me. I can't, because my daughter she eats like I do. That wasn't going to work for me. But 2 years old is okay. You can do 2 years old. 3 years old, it gets a little extra. And so, because it's more work for you. Do you understand me? For me, I think if I ever write a parenting book, it will be Parenting for Dummies. like one of those books, because I life hack everything. From African descent, we cook. And I watched my mother, cook 4 or 5 hours in the kitchen. And I used to watch her like, what? She stands on her feet. And this is a woman who worked very hard. Then she would come home and double the work. And I grew up just thinking, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this, So she used to say that she didn't think I was going to cook after I got married. She's like, I'm surprised you cook the way you cook. Because what I did is I life hacked cooking. Like, women are expected to cook, whatever the situation. I liked cooking, so I was cooking. But I needed to have, life hack, quickly do the jollof. Like, I couldn't sit there for 4 hours and cook tomatoes that we eat raw. Cook the tomatoes for 4 hours. Okay, no, it's not going to happen. So I quickly learned, how could I do jollof in a quick manner? How could I make soup in 1 hour? Did you hear what I said? Make soup, start the jollof, 1 hour, done. And so I life hack everything. Because you understand, I'm all about ease. My life, the way it's set up, is about ease. So I have to pay the price forward so that it will be easy for me later. That is why we're probably going to be one of the only parents who don't entertain our children in our bed. I can count how many times my daughters have slept in my bed. Like, I can't do it. we just can't. Because let me tell you something. When I had my first one, of course, we had the little, bed, not the crib, but I can't think of the name right now. But whatever, that little bassinet. I had the bassinet next to the bed. And I was taking care of her, from the bed. Like, I would get up. Still, she won't be on my bed. No, I don't even know where I picked this up from, but I knew Sleeping on the bed wasn't an option for me at all. And so I put the baby in the bassinet right next to me. As soon as I put my feet down, the bassinet is there. And at like 4 months, it just wasn't working because when I had the baby, I was working. So my mom would tell me, oh, put the baby, keep the baby in your room. I said, no. She gets up and then she's crying. Tomorrow we have to go to work. That's not gonna work. So, and my husband used to work at night. So it's like, okay, if she wakes up, that means he can't sleep till 5 o'clock in the morning. So why would I like that wouldn't happen? That wouldn't be good. So I was like, quickly, I moved that child. 3.5, 4 months, she was gone to her own room. I put her in the crib quickly. So what I was doing is during the day, if I'm working, I'm working. But if I'm not working, I put her in the bedroom, in her crib, in her room for a nap. So before I started going back to work, that's what I did. I trained her to be in her bed during the day. At night, I bring her to my room. Many of you, whether out of laziness, whether you're too tired, whether it's more convenient, you put the baby next to you. It's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of mothers do. When you make that mistake, you'll pay the price later. You'll pay the price later. Because at 9, 10 months, when you're trying to train the baby to sleep now, that baby won't sleep. That baby won't sleep. Because now the baby is used to being in your bed. Or maybe you're holding the baby every second. I don't have time to be holding no baby. That's the reality of it. It doesn't mean you're spoiling the baby. It just means that I can't start anything that I can't continue to do. That's why I said don't do breakfast in bed when you are dating. Because when you actually marry, you probably won't have the energy for breakfast in bed. Oh, let me go make your breakfast. And so anything that couldn't continue, I'm not going to do it. So we don't do the bed. Try the best you can. Don't put the baby on the bed. And some of you will just kick out your husband, leave the bed, me and the baby. No, don't do it. So this impacts your marriage in the sense that it creates disconnect between you and your spouse. That's why new mothers have all these issues with their husbands, because they're bonding with the baby. They're used to the baby. They're connected to the baby. They don't know how to be, mom, baby, husband together. It's them and the baby, them and the baby. It impacts your relationship. So whatever you can do, keep the baby in the room around. I don't care if the baby is there for 6 months. Don't put the baby on your bed. Keep the baby in a bassinet in the room for 6 months if you must. After 6 months, try to transition them to their own room because it helps you too. If the baby knows you're there, they wake up easier. And plus, you too, you want your freedom. And you can't have freedom with the baby in the room. I mean, some do it. Not me. Can't do it. You understand? So quickly, I transition you. We're pretty selfish at that. So quickly, we transition you. Go to your room. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are special situations where your baby has to be in your room longer. Whatever it is, you know your situation best. But the idea is don't get the baby so tied up to you that you can't be free as a mother, as a father. Give yourself the room, the opportunity to also spend time together as a couple. So the bedtime was early because if I put the baby down by 7 for bedtime, they're going to wake up like 10 o'clock again or 9 o'clock. So, 2 to 3 hours, depending on their age. So if they're 4 months, 5 months, then I know they're going to sleep from 7 to like 11. Guess what? That's a good 4 hours you can have with your spouse. If you choose to, that's a good 3 hours you can have. So that's kind of where the idea came from. You sleep at 7, I'm free from 7. And it stayed like that. My daughter is 9 years old. 9 years old. So when the summer comes around, it's hard to let them sleep at 7 because they can see outside that, Mommy, it's not dark outside. So I had to get dark shades, like, those, what is this thing called? The window treatment that's like dark shades where you sleep inside, even in the morning, you don't know it's in the morning. So that's what I got for them so that they're able to sleep, early. But then they started fighting the time, they started school. When kids are school age, they get really smart all of a sudden. No, mommy, I don't want to go to sleep now. So now bedtime is at 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock is fine. So like right now, they're like still asleep. So 8 to 7, 8 to 8, sometimes when I'm late over here. So sometimes I will, if I wasn't live, I will go wake them up to get ready. But because I am live, I'm gonna trust that they're gonna wake up on their own. And that's 12 hours they just slept. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's 12 hours because when they sleep, they function better. When they sleep, they behave better. When they sleep, like it helps them in school because remember, they're school age. So now they have to pay attention in class. If they don't sleep well, like kids are sleeping at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's for your own good. Like, I'm not saying this to bash you. I'm saying this to say, make the children sleep early. When they begin to sleep early, you will be like, wow, thank you, Ruth, because now I see it. Like they sleep well. They sleep well, they behave well, they're not sleeping in class, they're not acting out in school because they have their rest. Yes, children their age are not necessarily supposed to sleep 12 hours, but I'm going to give you 12 hours because as you get older, they sleep less. So this is them. They're going to store some sleep in their coffers. So as they get older and older, they may switch bedtime to like 9 o'clock. You understand what I'm saying? But for now, while they're school age, 5th grade, 6th grade, they're going to be sleeping 10 to 12 hours. All right. So that's my recommendation to you. Let the children go to sleep early so that you and your spouse can have some me time, some free time, some time to yourself. All right. Any questions? Any comments? No. Okay. I think we've exhausted the parenting. Even when it comes to their tantrums, know how to address your children's tantrums. Know that if I respond to them, I'm responding in a way that they know my authority as a parent. And you're not just responding because, oh, they're crying. I can't do anything about it. So let me just give them, you want an iPad, take it. We can't let iPad raise our children. There are consequences to giving them iPads all the time. I know, because for the first 2, 3 years of her life, I allowed the iPad to raise her. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, that was one of the biggest mistakes I made as a parent, as a mother. There are consequences. The reason a lot of kids are very antsy, they can't do anything, the screen makes those children hyperactive. So many children have been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, because you use the screen to calm them down. But now they don't have the screen with them. When the screen is not there, they become impatient. You go to the restaurant, you pass them a phone. I'm not telling you I've never done it. I've done it because you want your piece to eat and no. But when you go to the restaurant next time, let them sit there. Because your parents used to make you sit there, sit and wait. You go to church, sit and wait. Do you hear me? It's hard taking kids to church. I was taking them to church and giving them my phone, my other phone, not my real phone, but my other phone. Hey, use this. No, you slowly train them. It's not easy because our churches are long, right? So the kids can just sit there. But slowly you train them bit by bit. Bring crayons, bring coloring book, bring something to move the direction, the attention from screens. The screens are going to hurt your children. Facts. Not just what they're watching, but just the screen. They're going to wear glasses. Children are wearing more and more glasses now than ever. There's something in the water for sure. You're seeing 2-year-olds wearing glasses. Yes, some have some special issues, but most of them is the screen. And they're very impatient. They're constantly bored. If your child is constantly bored, there's something you did. Real talk. There's something you did. Once I recognized that this child could be by herself for 3-4 hours, I was like, no. That's where my mistake was. I quickly had to correct it. So I took away everything. We have iPads and tablets in this house that we've lost. We don't know. Because I took it and hid it and I don't know where it is. Because I recognize this was not going to help this kid. Do they love the screen? Yes. Right now, my 4-year-old, every second, the minute she gets home, Mommy, I want your phone. Mommy, I want a phone. Mommy, I want a tablet. Mommy. And I will look at her and say, no, you just got home. You just got home. They don't like it, but I'm bored. Okay, go get something to color. Go get something. You got to break it up with something. Like, we can't just leave them to the tablets, because later on we're going to suffer the consequences. They don't have any patience. The reason we're more patient than our children, than this gen, I don't know if it's Z or Y or whatever this generation is because our parents used to make us wait. We don't have a choice. We must wait. Go sit down and wait. But mommy, I asked you, but mommy, our children today, they don't have any level of patience. So we're having to do extra work, because we're competing with more than our parents competed with. Do you see? So when I say don't let your children get social media, people think I'm just too uptight. What is my 12-year-old getting social media to talk to who? About what? Oh. I mean, about what exactly? Yes, we give them phones because, the world is a scary place. I get it. But the day I give phone to that child to take to school, I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of. So because I'm not ready, she just won't have a phone. When there's an emergency, schools, they know how to notify you. They won't say, go use your cell phone to make a call. No, the schools have a responsibility to notify the parents. So it's like telling yourself, oh, credit card is for emergency. Credit card has never been for emergency, because most of the things we use the credit card for is not emergent. It's things that we want and need. So we can use all kind of excuse to use credit card, but we don't need it. And when you train yourself not to need a credit card, you don't depend on credit card. Listen, I know, because I've done it and I've been there firsthand. And I know you know, because all the stuff on your credit card is not emergency. It's it's Nordstrom Rack, it's Nike, those are the things. It's not an emergency. How many times does your car break down? So it's not an emergency. It's the same excuse we use for our children. Oh, they need the phone. My child doesn't need a phone. No, they don't need a phone. Because if I send them to an adult, I will reach out to the adult. If I give them a phone when they go, it's because I don't want them to bother maybe that person. Maybe they're busy, but they're willing to watch the kid. Okay, then take a phone, go and watch your show and leave them alone. Or take something to write on it. But we have to be honest with ourselves. The kids are growing addictive behaviors because of the tablets and the gadgets. We don't want our children addicted. So they're learning to be addicted when we give them something that they can control. And they cannot control their phone. Take away their phone for 24 hours, you will see. There'll be war in your house. Oh, they are 12 years old. They are 13 years old. They can't afford the phone. They don't need to have a phone. Do you get me? So these are things we do and we pay the price later. Because by the time they're 16, oh, you dare not touch their phone. They will kill you in our house. And we've seen on the news it happens. You dare not touch their phones. So whatever you can control later, don't expose the children to it. All right. Have we exhausted parenting? I think we have exhausted parenting. There's so many areas and aspects of parenting. Parenting teens is different. Parenting, early teens and not young adults. Hopefully they're out of the house. Parenting, toddlers is different, but the idea is the same. You need to be consistent as a parent. You need to be clear and concise. You need to set clear expectations. You need to set boundaries. You need to set boundaries. When you say, if you do this, I'll take your phone, this phone that you've given them, take the phone. If you do this, you can't go hang out. Don't let them go hang out. In fact, me, I'm against sleepovers. That's just me. I've always been against sleepovers. I don't allow it, but if you may have one person, you're comfortable, your children going there and sleeping there, that's fine. But other than that, the children can come here. If you want to sleep over, bring the children here. Some parents, they don't mind. Me, I mind. So I won't send them over there for a sleepover. All right. So you look at everything we talked about. If you didn't watch the broadcast, go ahead and review it. Go back and watch it again. Share it with someone. 4 types of parenting: authoritative, authoritarian, neglectful, and permissive parenting. Please don't be permissive. When you're permissive, you're really hurting your children. You're hurting your children when you're permissive. When you're neglectful and you're authoritarian, you're also controlling. That's too much for your kids. Authoritative balances it out. They know you are the parent, they are the children, and there is clear boundaries set, and there is discipline. There are consequences. Things are very clearly written. So make sure, as a new mom, you don't create habits that you have to pay for later on. You want time with your husband. You can't have time because the child is crying, mommy, mommy, mommy. Meanwhile, if you train them to be independent, then you can also have your me time with your spouse. So these are some of the things that can influence and impact your marriage. So make sure you are aware of it, because you can stop fighting your spouse over your children. But if you agree on something, we talked about agreement yesterday, you agree together and you raise them the way it's going to favor both of you, you don't have to struggle. All right. You guys have an amazing day. I will see you again tomorrow on time. Today we were on time. So if I'm not on by 7, I'll be on by 7:15. All right. So you guys take care. All right. Make sure you sign up for that prayer group. All right. Okay. Bye.